And I welcome you today to CSC Talk Radio. It is my honor, my privilege, and my pleasure to be here with you today. You know, before we get started, let me take a moment for us to remember those in London and the terrorist attack that they had this morning. It says a car ramming outside Parliament on Tuesday morning was being treated as a terrorist incident, and a male suspect has been arrested. The country's counterterrorism command was leading the investigation, and 2 people were hospitalized and 1 person was released. Scotland Yard Assistant Commissioner Neil Basu said a woman who was also being treated for serious but not life-threatening injuries, and police patrol on Millbank in central London after a car crashed into security barriers outside the Houses of Parliament in London. The suspect was described to be in his late 20s. He was arrested on suspicion of terror offenses, and he was driving a silver Ford Fiesta before colliding with a number of cyclists and pedestrians before crashing into the barriers during the morning commute. He is in custody but wasn't cooperating with the police, and he wasn't immediately identified. British Prime Minister Theresa May and London Mayor, I can't ever say his name, Sadiq Khan, thanked emergency responders for being on the scene quickly. My thoughts are with those injured in the incident in Westminster, and my thanks to the emergency services for their immediate and courageous response. Another attack. It's been a while, but there we go again. I mean, I just can't imagine somebody taking a vehicle and just mowing down pedestrians. I just cannot imagine that. That kind of hate in a heart. We talked about hate yesterday. Well, let's get started. In a few minutes, we're going to bring on Daniel Turner of Power of the Future, and he's going to join us. But I wanted to bring a little something to you to kind of get us ready for what we're going to talk about. At least what I think we're going to talk about. Maybe it's not what we're going to talk about. Daniel might turn this sucker around. Who knows? But when I was 17, it was, no, I'm not going to sing to you. I'm really not going to put you through that this morning. But when I was a teenager, the scientists were just beginning their ozone scares and calling it global cooling. There were many predictions and many causes. Remember, don't use aerosol hairsprays or anything aerosol. Back in that day, we had to quit using fancy toilet paper, too. Do you remember that? Nothing with a print on it. Nothing with a print on it. Then, that's why people don't know whether it goes up or under, because it's not printed anymore. Then time marched on, and it became global. Well, first it was global cooling, and then time marched on and became global warming. Now it's those gassy cows causing the heat to rise. Well, you know, there's more to that. They believe that humans are doing it, and I'm sure we probably mess up a lot. But Al Gore came on board with his book and his doom and gloom predictions. And the only problem is nothing any of them have predicted has ever come true. The numbers and the stats depend on the scientists and where they receive their funding. While I do believe we need to be good stewards of this land, and we've learned a lot through the years on how to clean it up, I do not take stock, I do not take it to heart in those who are jet-setting around the globe, talking down to the rest of us as we try to make a living and raise our kiddos. We've watched as many of them who spew their faith in Mother Earth, not in God, get rich while making more restrictions on the populace, the poorer populace. They are in it for the almighty dollars. I am convinced of that. And the only way for them to convince me otherwise is for them to start living as they expect the rest of us to live. Keep those long johns on and the thermostat down in the winter. The blanket companies have made a mint off of that, haven't they? All of those fancy throws we have piled up by the sofa and our easy chairs. Keep the thermostat up and keep the house dark in the summer. Only wash clothes at midnight, and the list goes on and on and on of things that we can do to make it better. The predictions have not come true, not one of them. No, not one of them. Yet they expect us to believe and to finance their cause. What exactly is their cause? It's simple, at least in my mind. Control. Control you and get rich doing so. There are those who truly believe the false data being given. And there are those scientists who believe the opposite, that it is a cycle of weather and the Earth is actually going back into an ice age of sorts. And I could not remember the scientist's name. I had an article by him several years ago that I shared. And he was talking about how they're doing an injustice to the people because we're not preparing for what might be around the corner. All we can do is keep our ears open and glean the data from these scientists. But failed predictions lost me a long time ago. As my old boss used to say, I'm doing the best I can with the tools I got. Today, Daniel Turner is going to join us, and we're going to discuss a little bit about the climate change hoax and its effect on Americans' independence, America's energy, jobs, and manufacturing, as well as our way of life. Welcome back, Daniel.